Ones that like they couldn't get. Like I knew Melville and I knew George Washington.
Yeah, how did you not know the George Washington one? For come on.
I got that one.
Pardon? Final Jeopardy was 1969 Oscars. Which siblings were both nominated? I couldn't remember Peter's name. I had Jane, and I knew they were Fondas. Initially, I said Henry, which was Dad. But if I had just written the Fondas, I think they would have given it to me. I think they would have given me credit for it.
Okay, my question is, why did Louise wager money if we knew like the answers?
Because there's no.
Well, you wager money before you know what the question is. Yeah, you put down the money before you know what it is. All right, so on Google Classroom, couple things. Number one, in case you ever lose your rubric and you forget, right now it is up at the very top. I added a new section, speech materials and assignments. And so as we get more speech things for various assignments, they'll be added in here. So the pop culture rubric is there for you to look at. Say you're at home, you don't have your sheet, you forget what the 4 topics would be, you can have them all right there as you look them up. All right. Other thing, while we're here, as you scroll down on CHS registration materials, remember, due on Friday, should you wish to do that. And then also Quizlet links. On Wednesday, we are doing our logical fallacy quiz. So there is the link to the logical fallacy Quizlet. There it is, plus your notes. Where we're going to be looking at today is common websites. All right, so this one here, common websites. Can it be any more in your face than that? We are going to noodletools. Now, couple things here about noodletools before you start logging in and all this stuff. As you go to noodletools, you'll come to this page. You'll hit the little login rectangle up here at the top. Your login is your old username. So last year when they switched to the Gmail, login to get onto that computers, before it used to be, was it your 4 letters of your last name, 3 of your first, and then your graduation? That would be your personal ID. So if you are like Aiden, it should be KELLAID and then 19. All right. And then your password is NHSD, 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 NHSD written twice. We're going to try that anyway and see if it works. Now, you're going to have to revalidate passwords and all that kind of stuff.
The same thing.
No.
Oh.
So don't worry about the whole thing yet. Where are you at? Like what is that? So it would be the first 4 letters of your last name. First 3 letters of your first name. And then your
security alert.
So it would be 20. Aiden's head just expands.
How many in these?
Should be 2.
Alright, that's what I did, and then I hit revalidate.
Try it out. What's your first year in the middle? This year?
No.
Yeah. Your normal one. Full self figure it out.
Can they just make Google Docs of all this research that I do?
Maybe you should set
No.
NHLA.
I know, I did that. I did that. I did NHLI.
Because you're doing it wrong.
No.
I already told you, you're doing it wrong.
NHLA. Oh my god.
NHLIB.
The password, I thought it was NHSD, NHSD.
Yeah.
Yeah, the password's NHSD and
There was
when you
valid.
read
Come on.
Okay, don't worry about revalidating yet.
Okay.
What?
I'm ready.
Can I do anything for you? Alright. I will find out for tomorrow for you. Now, when you get to the revalidate page, so after you log in, it's asking for username and password. The revalidation just means you haven't used this in a while. It's not a big deal. NHLIB in both. NHLIB, NHLIB. Then it's going to ask about, last 4 digits of phone number and all that kind of stuff, graduation year, just to make sure your account is currently up to date. If you want to change your graduation year to 2032 because you're going to be in college for decades and you want to continue to use Noodle Tools, go for it.
I'll change it to yours.
Crystal, see if we can find this
Great.
out.
Someone's access to your. Oh, catch with the right was the last thing I used this for. Hiroshima. It's the lost generation. Methamphetamine. Mrs. Rossi's health article.
Hi.
Persuasive argument to argue
Hey,
against.
hey, Sandy, it's John. As a
Seventh
student
grade
who,
lit trend.
Crystal, last year was your first year in the building?
What?
Last year was your first year in the building?
This year.
This year. So, her junior, using Noodle Tools, what would her login be? We have to create one for her? Okay. Just like for the old ones, okay. Alright, correct, for the revalidation thing. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Like it. We get to create one. So you're gonna go down here to register down below. So still do, for consistency's sake. So it's two. And then in here, you'll still put the NHLIB in both of them.
Not really. I'd rather be in California than in Oregon.
Yep.
True.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna.
You have to pay.
Graduate next year, or you wanna graduate later? Graduate later. Alright, so we would do this one. And then password, we're just gonna do
So what
I can imagine being at for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, you're right.
Like, you still have another like year.
qualifies well-being? Just like
Oh, every
it's like how we were seeing in class, like tobacco, sugar.
Oh, I thought it was like health.
Like your own personal health.
That's just in case we ever forget password, we put it in.
I'm already interested on this.
I tried.
Might
It
not-
sucks
Either
because
like you can't
I'm
see
gonna
it.
research it.
Yes, I can.
So you've never used them?
There's one side of it.
It's like just big side.
Mackenzie, how you doing?
Yeah, no.
Well, we lay over, but it's if we went there, it's like
Alright.
3.
Back there. Has any, other than Mackenzie, anyone not in yet? We're good? Okay. So here is what we are going to do. Reason we are in Noodlebib, and listen to this because people will forget about it and then your life becomes miserable in May. We do not have a CHS argumentation pit test, pit lab, pit speech that we all must do. However, the one main requirement, assignment-wise, that all students must do is collect at least 50 pieces of research throughout the course of the semester. So the reason for Noodle Tools is that is where you are going to house your researched items. So at the end of the semester, not like the last day, but like a week, before the end of the school year, you are going to quote unquote turn in your Noodlebib project. What that means is you're just going to have Noodlebib updated, so I can take a look at it and I can see, hey, Grant has 50 sources. Yay, he got a 50 out of 50. Or nope, he has 4 sources. He gets a 4 out of 50 kind of thing. The mistake that people will do, and most people end up doing very well on the assignment, but the way that they make their lives more miserable, and this is the way that seniors go out remembering me, and then they really dislike me, but I don't care, is if you don't keep it updated throughout the course of the semester, then you end up adding 40 sources the night before it's due. Where if you maintain updating it throughout the course of the year, this is a nice, easy 50-point assignment at the very end. Ben brought up the point that so we need to research basically 8 sides, like 8 positions, and he's correct, 4 resolutions, affirmative and negative for each one, so that would be 8. This is only going to be, like a 2 to 3 minute speech. How many sources would you say is reasonable to do for each side of the resolution? I'd say
You said like one topic.
Each side.
I think 2 would probably be fine. Okay, 2 to 3. So let's lowball it. If you go 2, so you do 2 sources for affirmative, 2 sources for negative, 4 topics, all of a sudden you end up with 16 sources. You're roughly a third of the way there. Now, there is not a, Julia, you must have 16 sources or you're not going to pass this assignment. It's up to her whether she gets the 16. Maybe she gets 8. Maybe she uses a lot of sources but doesn't put them in and she only gets 4. Maybe you do end up finding 4 sources per side and you end up with 32 by the end of the assignment. That's entirely up to you as to how that goes. But this is where you'll end up housing those sources. So that I can see your sources, we have to create a project and then you have to share the project with me. So on noodletools up here at the top, there is the green button that says New Project. We click on New Project, and we're just going to call it something like CHS Argumentation. I'm going to call it CHS Argumentation in that because I have a bazillion CHS Argumentation folders, and I need a new name. We are going to be going MLA Handbook, and we are going Advanced because what do you know? We are college and high school. I know it may not look about like it as you look around the room, but it's supposedly what we are. And then you would hit Submit. So all of your sources for the course would go into this one folder. It's not that we're going to do a subfolder for SPAR debate, another folder for student congress later on, another folder for other assignments, just everything would go into here. In the middle part, so as you're here in your dashboard, you got your project details, then there's this sharing and collaboration, which is right in the middle. You are going to share your folder with a project inbox. So this blue tab here, this blue button where it says Share with Project Inbox, you are going to click on. This is not going to work for me because I can't share with myself. But if you start to type CHS, there should be a title that comes up, CHS Argumentation Spring 2019. So then you would put your name, and then you would hit Done. There is no paper that you need to share with me. Okay?
Not the like the middle bit of ID, like our actual.
Yeah, put your actual name. I mean, you could put your ID, but it's easier for me to see, Nick Zubinski as opposed to Zunick.
Oh, I just put my first name.
That's fine.
So did I.
There's only one grade. Other grade.
Did you put Benito?
Unfortunately.
Oh. So now what happens for me is, and again, this isn't something that I'm going to take a look at all the time, but when I go into my inbox for CHS Argumentation, I can now look to see how many sources you have, and I can go, oh my goodness, Nick, you don't have any. You have 0 points, at this point. So this is just where I can kind of keep a running tab. Halfway through the semester, I might come walking around like, Grant, I got like 24 sources for you? Is that what you have? And you go, yeah. And then I go, 8, and I got like 3. Yeah. So again, it's the due date for it is going to be end of semester. I'll give you obviously the date for that. There's not periodic checkpoints that you have to be at, but this is at least how I can keep track of where you are.
So you go to sources, like the tab sources, and then you citation.
Once you're in your project, yeah. So,
Wait, what do you mean?
well, like when you log in, when you have like my projects.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll go to CHS Argumentation. By default, it'll always kind of take you to this dashboard. The middle one here up at the top where it says sources, that's where you would go to that you would be able to add sources. Okay?
Mr. Kane, so for the 4 topics you gave us earlier on the timetable, if we use
So as you find research for it, yes, you would put them in here. Now here's the dangerous thing that kind of starts to, Mackenzie. So in the, you're at the main dashboard. So share with project inbox. If you type in CHS, our class should show up then. Okay? Yep. Concern to throw out there because we're talking about sources and citing and all that kind of stuff. Your argument, there is no reason why it needs to be based solely on source material. The best source that you have is your head and the brain in it.
Stats help.
Most of us have a brain.
You're pretty good. What you don't want to do, and I'm not worried about Google Police coming down or Wikipedia Police or all that kind of stuff, but what you don't want to do is go to Google and be like, should shopping bags be banned? Question mark, and see what starts popping up. What I would do first, before any of these topics, is start coming up with your own ideas that you have. So, like, number one, Julie, I think it was you, before we even said it, mentioned, like, the whole sugar tax. Like, I know they've done sugar taxes or things like that. So something that she might start to independently research would be sugar taxes, examples of it. What could be colleges worth the cost, average tuition, and whatnot. So come up with your own subtopics first that you want to investigate. It's easier to get specific pieces of information once you're looking at a subtopic of an argument as opposed to typing in people place too much emphasis on political correctness. What are current things going on or that have gone in the past where political correctness has, been an issue? Well, right now, Virginia would be an example where political correctness is certainly an issue. Is that going too far or is that something that should be looked at in more detail? All right. Now, back on Google Classroom. So when you come in tomorrow, number one, I would open up noodletools. I would have that ready to go. So that you can start putting sources in the source area. I shouldn't say the one source, but one source that you cannot use is Wikipedia. And it is nothing against Wikipedia. I don't want you using Wikipedia. I don't want you using Encyclopedia Britannica or any kind of secondary source that is going to be citing all the other things. If there is something that Emma wants to take a look at Wikipedia, fine, go to it. Wikipedia is very good at giving a general overview. Wikipedia is also good at providing specific sources down at the bottom of the page. So if she is citing Wikipedia, she is going to general. If she's taking a look at the specific cited sources down at the bottom, and we can validate that they are credible sources, be my guest and cite those. But Wikipedia, a Google just search bar, or not search bar, but search whatever, Google images, those things we're not going to look for. Find like the actual source. Also, stay away from blogs because you tend to not get pretty valid information or at least cited information. Now, if something shows up in a blog or like in a user post that you go, ooh, that's pretty interesting, you could research like that statistic, that number or whatever that he or she presents, and then you might be able to find the original source for it. Yeah.
For the topics on the government and me in general AP Govs, we use our book.
Sure. I mean, 99% of the sources that people end up putting are probably online. But any textbook that you want to use, you can absolutely go with. If you took AP Environmental Science or you're in AP Environmental Science, you probably have a bunch of stuff about plastic shopping bags, that you would be able to take a look at. College is worth the cost. If you want to do an interview with your counselor, or something like that, you can certainly do all those things. So no, you are not limited to just what the research, the internet says. All right. Under common websites, back on Google Classroom, underneath noodletools, I have three things listed. I have the North Hills Library databases, which are actually pretty good. Then I have the International Debate Association and procon.org. International Debate Association and procon.org are both valid websites, but they are like Wikipedia. You wouldn't cite them directly. You would actually cite stuff, underneath them that they specifically provide. With the North Hills Library databases, when you click on NH Library databases, you have a link to the library. You also then have a document that has the usernames and passwords. So when it comes to using things like opposing viewpoints and whatnot, you can see your username is Lupsawag, password Lupsawag, best username and password combo in the world. SIRS gets used a good bit, so PL2591H with, there's that password again, Lupsawag, you're able to use. So if you can't log on to something, this Google Doc here would probably have the information that you would need to get onto a website. All right. I wanted to show you a couple things with the library website, just so you're aware of it. So I'm going to library. The two that tend to get used the most are the ones that I'll show you. That would be opposing viewpoints, which has the yin-yang symbol right here. And then underneath it is ProQuest SIRS, SIRS Knowledge Researcher. That one tends to be pretty good. If you end up looking at something where you need Supreme Court cases or any kind of court cases, whether it's for something that we're using or a social studies class, LexisNexis is wonderful for that. You have every single LexisNexis. Hey, this got me through, what was it, educational law with, what was his name?
John Paul Kane.
No. No.
What's that?
He kind of looked like Ralph Ellison.
Really?
Yeah. Can't think of his name right now. It'll come to me like in the middle of fifth period. So I'm going to opposing viewpoints. Sometimes you don't need to use your username and password while on school. Sometimes you do. Right now, I don't. In the library, so I'm on the yin-yang opposing viewpoints. All right, so after I click there, I have this Browse Issues option. What this will do is show me a variety of issues, some of which might be useful for what we're doing, some of which may not. But when it comes to, like say political correctness, maybe politics and media would be something you end up taking a look at. Hey, what do you know? Third column, fourth one down, plastic waste.
I just searched that. That's great.
That's crazy. What?
The way that opposing viewpoints works is that they will give you articles, and it doesn't mean that necessarily it's going to be doing plastic bags, but they'll give you articles, viewpoints, both that could be looking at affirmative and negative of certain positions. There's videos, there's magazines, there's a whole variety of stuff that you could take a look at. So plastic within the Great Pacific Garbage, something, something, something here from March. I'm just going to click on this article here. It's increasing exponentially. This is from March of last year. So I read through this. I don't know if for sure I'm going to use it, but I think there's some pretty decent information for me. To go about citing it, the easiest thing to do, and this would be true for any opposing viewpoint source, would be go down to the bottom where it says source citation, copy and paste the citation. Well, copy it at this point. Then I go back into noodletools. I'm going to create a new citation. I am looking at a database. My database is online. Oh, website. There we go. Or no. Yeah, I want to go in database. You know what? It really doesn't matter what I hit. I'm going to go original content in a database. Here's why it doesn't matter. Rather than typing in all of this information, name of database, year, publisher, vendor, all that kind of stuff, because I copied a pre-existing citation, I can go to copy and paste a citation under this quick cite option. So I go to copy and paste citation. Here is my little manually edited text box. I paste it in, boom, it's there. It'll look good when I'm done. Now, I'm going to hit save, but I'm also going to hit save and add annotation. You have to have 50 sources. You also have to have an annotation for your 50 sources. Your annotation is 2 sentences long. First sentence for your annotation, I use this for my pop culture SPAR debate. It's telling us the assignment. The next thing it does is I just want you to give like a 1-sentence synopsis overview of the article. This article provides information about the quickly increasing amount of plastic in the Pacific Ocean. Save and close. Now when I go back to my sources, I'll have a citation with my 2-sentence summary. When Mr. Kane looks at it, he'll go very good and move on to the next source.
Question about political correctness. I feel like that can be interpreted in different ways. Is there like universal
You have
way
to
that we
define
should
it.
look at it? Well, if I'm arguing with somebody and they have a different argument than I do about like completely different definition.
Which is probably going to happen at some point with some argument, whether it be this one or not. So I think it's important when you do that introduction to, you know, when I say political correctness, this is what I mean right here. So it doesn't mean politicians necessarily acting correctly. I would say for political correctness, we would be looking at people, whether it be from outside influences or internally, censoring what you say or do so that you are not drawing attention to a specific group of people. So, political correctness, someone might go, we put too much emphasis on political Redskins, or on political correctness because I've always been a fan of the Washington Redskins. And I will cheer for my Washington Redskins from here on out. Does not matter. Some people get upset about it. It's a football team. That's been their name for the last 80 years. We are going to keep it. Others, then you could argue, well, the name is demeaning. You're taking a group of people who have a proud history, and you're basically reducing it to a caricature. So common things that'll come in will be, hey, North Hills Indians, Cleveland Indians. Take a look at old logos of the Cleveland Indians. It basically looks like a demeaning, racist picture that you would expect in the 1830s, not the 1950s kind of thing. So I would say any kind of censoring or changing of what people say, write, do out of fear of, offending someone. Carrick?
I was gonna say they got rid of Chief Walker.
Right. Yeah. So now when I said Virginia, because certainly I think an argument that people would go is that people could do for this is why we need to have political correctness is there's no reason for a person to be dressing up as a Klans member and someone else in blackface for a Halloween party. This is why. So that's certainly where you could take a look at recent events that would be going on as well. But yeah, I would say the censoring of what we say or do or write because of how it could be offensive to other people. Tomorrow, bell's going to ring here in a moment, so you can start to log off. Tomorrow, I want to give you a quick overview of some of the other databases just so you can see what's there. And then essentially, if not by the end of class tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Tuesday of next week, I'm basically turning you loose. I'm not going to read the newspaper in my corner. I'll come around and talk to you and see, are there particular resolutions or specific sides to one that you feel that you're going to struggle with, like Jen and I just talking about political correctness, come up with some ideas for research. But the big thing I want you to get acclimated to, honestly, is noodletools, so you get in the habit of citing your sources. Now, just because I put a source into noodletools, that does not mean it makes my speech. The PIT assignment is that you have accumulated 50 pieces of research. That doesn't mean that you have used them. So you put in 16 sources, you only end up using 2 of them because you're only arguing one side. The rest are fine. It's not that we have to go back and delete them. It's not letting you do anything? All right, I'll come over and take a look at it and figure it out.
Nice job.